Yeah, I love that, actually, that idea that it's a celebration of light and of um, kind of plenty in it, like we said, when it's dark and things are scarce. But it's kind of gone the other way, hasn't it? It's become a kind of season of excess and of kind of very unconscious consumption, I think, a lot of the time. So absolutely, we can maintain that essence. And I think some of it is thinking about what we want Christmas to mean to us. Do we want it just to be about how much stuff we can buy and the excess and the consumption? Or do we want it to be about time spent with family, carefully thought out, fewer gifts, but maybe really sort of carefully thought about and things like that. So I think it's trying to just slow it down a little bit if we can, and Christmas is such a busy time, and we're also time stretched anyway, that it becomes very easy to, click and collect and whatever. But actually, can we just start to dial it down a little bit? I think that would really help.
Oh, no, that's a difficult question. I think I would agree with the citizen that lights and trees are part of the event. And that's really a sacrifice if we said we have to stop lights and forget about the nice places that everybody wants to look at during Christmas. But I think that then you have to compensate in one way. And compensation is also part of what you can do. So compensate in what you buy or don't buy at that period. Think about going to help people much more in this period of time that during other period of the year. So I think compensation will be one way to keep the benefits of those beautiful lightings and so on, while at the same time being aware of the impact it has on the environment. We cannot always be in a sacrifice perspective when it comes to sustainability, because if it is the case, nobody will join the movement.
Yeah, definitely trying to shorten that, that food chain if we can. I mean, if anyone's lucky enough and green fingered enough to have their own allotment, you can grow your own sprouts and potatoes and things like that. But looking to see if you've got a local veg box scheme, if it's an organic one, then that's great. And again, looking for, organic, locally produced, if you're going to have a turkey or something like that, trying to make sure that it's, certainly buying locally. Also, really trying to think about food waste as well is really important. I think waste goes up about 30% during the Christmas season, and there are some horrifying stats out there about food waste. So, doing a bit of a meal plan, really having some ideas in mind for your leftovers, being really aware of what you can freeze if stuff looks like it's not going to get eaten in time and things like that. I think those are also really impactful things to do as well.
One more time, very good question. I think there is a debate about a local food versus non-local food, of course, in terms of their impact on the environment or the impact on the people living close to you. But what is local is not necessarily better for the environment. So I think it's also important to complexify a bit the reasoning and think about real impacts of what you buy. If you buy meat compared to fish, compared to no meat, no fish, or there are much more impact there, I think, than considering only local versus non-local. This being said, one more time, I think the symbol of food at Christmas is for a lot of people the kind of product you mentioned. And one more time, if we rationalize everything, then it's difficult to keep the motivation of people.
If you can, and I know it's not always possible, and obviously avoiding air travel, looking at the train and things like that. The frustration that we have, I think, across Europe and especially here in the UK, is that the train ends up being, significantly more expensive than the plane, which is, something that I think we really need to tackle. But yeah, looking, to see if you can get the train, if you can get the coach. I think we forget about coach travel. If you can, if you're driving, if you can, meet up with other family members that are coming so that you can all sort of travel together, that kind of thing. And if you are flying, I always feel like this is a really obvious thing to say, but fly economy, because obviously if you go business class, that's lots and lots of emissions. Travel light as you can, so hand luggage only. that kind of thing, and trying to pick flights, especially if you've got long flights that don't have lots of stopovers and things like that, that will help as well.
So mobility is a very good question again. So I think for traveling, we have to think first, do we have to travel? And I think in this case, going back in your family is definitely a good reason why to travel. But then think about the way you travel. So if you can take the train instead of the plane, it's a very good choice. And indeed, you can do a lot of things in the train that could be nice. You can also use train by night so that the time is flying very quickly, and that's nice. So I think for a lot of cities in Europe, it's possible really to go by train. So that's maybe the option to think about alternative mode of transports compared to cars and planes. And finally, if you have to take plane, think about compensation again. You can give some monies to some NGOs, or you can find your own causes that you want to defend, not to make you less, I would say, culpable of guilty from traveling, but just to take care of the planet and considering that you had a negative impact and that you have to compensate by a positive one.